Ask the question for sure.
Yeah, I'll ask the question.
Okay.
So, question one. What war did you fight in, and when was the war?
I was in the Korean War. I wasn't fighting. I was with the 8th Army headquarters in Seoul. The war itself lasted from 1950 to the end of 1952. I was in Korea mostly in 1952.
How old were you when you were in the war?
I was 22, I guess.
And
23, yeah.
And how did it impact your life?
Well, didn't impact my life too much. I mean, I was in the Army, and in the Army you go where you're told. A lot of other people were there. I was lucky I wasn't on the front lines getting shot at. Of course, it showed me Japan and Korea, and I learned a lot about both places and people there. I got to know several.
So, what type of soldier were you, and what were the pros and cons of your position?
Well, I was a non-com, a corporal and sergeant, and my main job mainly was to edit PW reports. I did some PW interrogation as well. And at the 8th Army headquarters, where I was with the U.S. Army interrogation team, my job often was to brief the other interrogators on what to look for, what to ask the PWs that we had.
And any pros and cons to that position, you think?
Well, we can talk about pros and cons. There was a job to do, and I did the job. I worked in the newspaper before, so I could edit and write the reports the way the Army wanted them done.
And where were you stationed, and what was it like there?
Well, I was stationed first in the United States, where I went to the Army Language School and learned Japanese. Then went over to Tokyo and worked at CHQ there for a while before I was sent over to Korea. In Korea, I was with the 8th Army interrogation team, editing the PW reports. I was first at the interrogation team headquarters in Seoul, and then other times I was in Chungcheong and Sakchuri, where we went to, where we had PW interrogation stations.
Okay. And how long did you fight for? Was it worth it, and why?
Well, I was lucky. I was behind the front lines. I was there because in the Army, and in the Army you go where you're told. I didn't have any strong feelings one way or the other on why we were there or what the fighting was about.
And, how long were you there for?
Well, I was in the Army for almost 4 years. I spent, the war broke out when I was leaving the depot in San Francisco the day the Korean War broke out. But when I reached Tokyo, Army headquarters had been cleaned out. The troops had been sent to Tokyo, to Korea, so I was kept in Tokyo for about a year before they sent me to Korea as well.
And what was the most important battle you fought in? What are the major details you remember about it?
Well, I was in no major battle. I was with the 8th Army headquarters, and so I was way behind the front lines and not involved in any direct battle. The only time I went to the front lines is when I went up there to escort a PW back to our headquarters.
And that's all the questions that I have.
All the questions, okay. Is that it?
Yep, that should be it.
That's not much of an interview.